Hello and welcome back. It's the Face Sports League. All statistics, no substance. I'm Kenny Fisher, and this is Rivalry Week. It's what we've been preparing for all season. The mid-season Rivalry Week for your out-of-conference opponents. Game 10, we come back to face the in-conference rivals. If you remember, the top two teams from each conferences are automatically into the playoffs. So Game 10, a real chance to lock a rival out of the playoff contention. The next two teams then are at large regardless of conference, so today's the chance to get your conference ahead. A lot of great matchups today, a lot of playoff implications today. It's Rivalry Week. This is what we play the game for. As always, make sure you tune into the Discord for any player injury updates and news. And this is the last game until Monday, so you've got all weekend to fester in the results of this rivalry matchup, and you're going to have to hear it from your rivals in the Discord all weekend. All right, it's time for our first matchup. Today, it's the Phantoms taking on the Mystics. Not the start that either of these teams were hoping for. 1-3, these teams played in the championship just last season. Percy Willis and Burl Packer healthy and in the squad for the Mystics today, taking on Octavio Bren and the very talented rookie Bill Roy. A lot at stake for these teams because one of these teams will drop to 1-4 after today, and they will be fighting an uphill battle for one of the 6 playoff spots. 45 on the clock, and it starts with a score from Octavio Bren. 1-1 now. Carlos Gutierrez to respond for the Mystics. Kelvin Rodriguez gets it right back to the Phantoms. Can they capitalize on the possession? A slow start from both squads. 1-1 the score remains. Percy Willis now on the board, and Octavio Bren quick to respond. 2-2, 2-3 now. Joseph Allison and the Mystics are firing on all cylinders. Octavio Bren, Chase Dubose. And now it's Taylor Barker. 4-3. The Phantoms with the lead. 4-4 now. Mystics tie it up. 10 seconds to go. Burl Packer with the second turnover of the day, trying to give the Mystics every chance they get. 4-5. The Mystics with the lead. 5-5. Could we see overtime here? No! Percy Willis scores his third, and the Phantoms drop to 1-4. They beat him in the championship one season ago, and the Mystics do it again. 3 points for Percy Willis, 2 points for Joseph Allison, and a 2-turnover performance from Burl Packer today. Phantoms back to the drawing board, and we may see a roster change come the 6th game. How impressive is it to not only best your rivals in a gritty matchup like this, but on the road as well? Mystics 2-3 on the season, and they're right back in the playoff race. We take things now to the Wolves' Den. Los Lobos and Red Pandas, the expansion teams. 3 losses for the Red Pandas, but Joey Spencer and Clayton Harrington have been on fire. They just about upset the Sharks yesterday, and they're going to be bringing the fire to Los Lobos today. Los Lobos will be favored in this matchup due to record and home field advantage, but the Red Pandas are looking to make something shake with these talented rookies. 45 on the clock, starting now. And Adrian Mitchell with a quick strike. Los Lobos on the board first. Joey Spencer responds quickly for Red Pandas. Cornelius Gross with a turnover, passes it back to Joey Spencer, and the Red Pandas are up 1-2. 1-3 now. Clayton Harrington with the largest lead of the night. Adrian Mitchell gets back at him. 2-3. 3-3 now. Adrian Mitchell with 3 points for Los Lobos. 3-4. Red Pandas keeping just that much better. Under 30 to go, under 20 to go. 3-4, 3-5. The Red Pandas keeping Los Lobos at an arm's reach. It's 4-5, 4-6. Less than 10 seconds to go. 4-7. The Red Pandas might have just done it there. The dagger from Clayton Harrington and the turnover for good measure from Rudolph Lowe. 4-7, and this has been the most complete performance from the Red Pandas this season. 3 points for Joey Spencer, 3 points for Clayton Harrington, and a strong defensive performance holds Los Lobos to only 4 at home. Adrian Mitchell with a strong 3-point performance today, but Rolando Johnson just couldn't get it done. 2 turnovers to Cornelius Gross today, and Los Lobos will drop their first rivalry matchup at home. It is time for the Tide to take on the Sharks. What can you say about this Sharks team other than the fact that they are the only undefeated team left in the FSL, that they have probably the MVP frontrunner Marcus Evans leading their squad, that they have shown up and shown out week after week, but this is not the Tide team of seasons past. Rookies Brett Romero and Lamar Brown bringing a much-needed change to this Tide offense, and Audrey Becker and Courtney Fowler, the rookies on defense, holding it down. 3 first-round picks for the tie between Brett Romero, Audrey Becker, and Courtney Fowler, but Lamar Brown, picked up in the 5th round, has been playing just as well. The Sharks might be undefeated, but don't count the title yet. They have had their number in years past. And with a sellout home crowd, they're hoping for a little home field advantage to disrupt this potent Sharks offense. 45 on the clock, starting now. And Lamar Brown on the board, tied strike first. Sharks offense stalls out, and Doug Powers gets on the board, 2-0 and 2-1 now. Al Key finally gets something going for the Sharks. Archie Nelson gets it out to the MVP, Marcus Evans, and we're tied up. 3-2 now, the Tide take the lead, and 4-2, the Tide starting to find their stride midway through this rivalry match. 5-2 now. 3-point lead for the Tide. The Sharks are going to have to fight back at home. But look at this, 4-point lead for the Tide, 6-2. Audrey Becker is forced to make it 3 turnovers, and the Sharks are not going to have enough time to climb back into this one. What has happened to this Sharks team? 7 points now for the Tide. If I told you the Tide were going to win this game, not many would believe me. If I told you it would be a blowout, they would call me delusional. 3 points for Brett Romero, 2 points for Doug Powers, 2 points for Lamar Brown. And you better believe the Sharks fans are going to have to hear about it all weekend long in the Discord. A 3-turnover performance from the first overall pick, defender Audrey Becker today. We knew the first overall pick would have his hands full with the reigning MVP, but he dominated his matchup over Marcus Evans today. 2 points from the best offense in the FSL. Tide fans, tell me how you're feeling now in the comment section below. Pandemonium in the FSL this season. Join me now in the Rebels versus the Flame, and I don't know how we're going to top that last matchup. Absolute insanity in the FSL this season. The expansion teams, Rebels hosting the Flame. Xavier King proving himself after a strong performance yesterday, and this Rebels defense is still not 100%. If the Rebels want to win this game, they're going to have to depend on their offense to just be that much more potent. They're digging deep into the depth on defense. 2 of your starters out today. You're going to have to beat them with points. Philip Bayless, Courtney May, Logan Minter, they're going to have to step up in this game and score early and often because their defense is going to need the help today. 45 on the clock, starting now. And Courtney May with a quick strike for the Rebels. Rebels on the board first, 1-0. Kevin Welsh with a quick turnover for the Flame. Alfred Blair with the turnover. It's a defensive battle through the first 15. Rogelio Gill now finally on the board for the Flame. Courtney May gets a right back for the Rebels, and Rogelio Gill going back and forth with them. 3-2 now, 3-3 now. Alan Norman and Philip Bayless getting in on the conversation. Under 20 to go. 3-3. Alfred Blair with his second turnover for the Rebels. This one may be closer than we thought. 3-4 now. Coming up on 10 seconds remaining. 3-5 in the Flame. Finally with the largest lead of the night. Arms reach away for the Rebels. 4 seconds remaining. And they will not catch the Flames. 6 points. Rogelio Gill with a quick score right at the end of the game. 4 points for Rogelio Gill today. Rebels defense stepping up while their starters are hurt, but just you cannot put up a 3-point performance today if you're Philip Bayless and co. 2 turnovers for Kevin Welsh, 2 turnovers for Jorge Silva, 1 for Warren Becker. You turn those turnovers into points, and it's an 8-6 game. Gotta play cleaner on offense. Rebels need to take this weekend, get healthy, make some adjustments to your lineups, and come back out there ready to play a stronger back half of the season. Watch out for the Flame, though. 3 wins for the Flame, 3-2. A strong win on the road, and they're hoping to get Gary Black back into sometime in the second half of the season. But how about these rookies? Kevin Welsh and Jorge Silva both having quite the season on defense. And the Flame are some legit contenders in the FSL this season. Next up is the Comets and Frogs, and these two do not like each other. Comets having probably the strongest season in franchise history. Frogs a little hot and cold, 2-2 on the season, but the talk is going to be with Max Adams. The rookie is having himself a season. Frogs rookie Ronnie Lamb going to have to step up today to keep Max Adams at bay. Jalen Little back again. Glad to see he's okay for this rivalry matchup. Comets looking healthy, looking strong, looking ready for this home team matchup. You know the drill, 45 seconds. And we start things off quickly. Max Adams on the board first for the Comets. And Max Adams again, 2-0, 2-1 now. Percy Pena for the Frogs. Keeping it close. Percy Pena again, 2-2. Max Adams and Percy Pena going back and forth now 3 points for the Comets. It's a one-score game. A couple turnovers for the Frogs defense, and Alexander Burke keeps us tied. 20 seconds remain. It's 3-3 now. Make that 4-3. Jaden Little gets his presence known for the Comets. Coming up on 10 seconds remaining, it's anyone's game. A defensive battle down the stretch, but Max Adams puts his 4th point up for the game. 5-4, 6-4, and time will run out for the Frogs. 6-5. Comets win it at home, but a strong performance from the Frogs. 2 points for Drew Park, 2 points for Percy Pena, but another staggering performance from Max Adams. Kid is playing out of his mind. 4 points for Max Adams today in the 6-5 victory. Comets advance to 4-1, and they are tied for the best record in the FSL. Frogs going to have to take the weekend to regroup, try to figure out their strategy for this back half of the schedule. A strong team performance, but they're going to need somebody to step up and start scoring a mass amount of points. Not to mention tightening up the defense a little bit. 6 points allowed from the Comets today. That takes us now to the game of the week. It's the Dragons and the Knights, one of the best rivalries in all of the FSL. Dragons at home this time, and let me tell you, this is one of the hardest places to play in the FSL. Dragons Den is deafening when you get the crowd involved. Knights 3-1 on the season. They're pushing for that #1 spot in the FSL. Both teams with strong playoff potential. Honestly, both teams fighting for a first-round bye. The big story today, Benny Bronk is back. The Defensive Player of the Year joined the Offensive Player of the Year, and it is hard to stop this Knights team when Quinn McHugh and Benny Bronk link up together. The key to the Dragons, Tobias Fonseca has to shut down Quinn McHugh. Dwayne Wells has to get involved disrupting Elijah Ford, and Keith Fraley and Christopher Shaw are going to have to step up as Francesco Sage has to go toe-to-toe with the Defensive Player of the Year. 45 on the clock, and we start things off with a quick strike from Keith Fraley. It's exactly what we were talking about just moments ago. Quinn McHugh, though, on the board for the Knights, 1-1, 2-1. Christopher Shaw getting involved. Francesco Sage still tied up with Benny Bronk. 1 turnover for Benny Bronk already. It's 3-1. Keith Fraley doing his part for the Dragons. 4-1 now. The Dragon starting to pull away now. Can the Knights stay in and on the road? Quinn McHugh with 2 points. 20 seconds remaining, and Quinn McHugh gets his 3rd. The Knights climbing back into it, but Christopher Shaw keeps it going. 5 points, 6 points. Now Francesco Sage scores on Benny Bronk. 6-4. Elijah Ford doing his part. 5 seconds remaining, and it's 6-5. The Knights, who they have it in them. Another overtime performance. Dwayne Wells forces the turnover and keeps the Knights out of overtime. Dragons win it at home. A 4-point performance from Quinn McHugh, but Tobias Fonseca and Dwayne Wells team up together and hold the Knights at 5. Benny Bronk doing his part, shutting down Francesco Sage, but it's just as we said, pre-game, Christopher Shaw, 3 points today, Keith Fraley with 2. This Knights defense a little thin behind the Defensive Player of the Year, and we might see a roster change over the weekend. Knights gotta keep Benny Bronk healthy down the stretch. But how about this connection between the defenders, Tobias Fonseca and Dwayne Wells? It is always a challenge to mesh personalities when you have 2 superstars on defense like that, but Tobias Fonseca and Dwayne Wells have been doing it all season. 2 turnovers apiece for those two, and every effort matters when you win by 1. Dwayne Wells with a last-second turnover. Had that gone through, the Knights would be playing in overtime. 3-2 on the season, and both these teams have a lot to look forward to in the back half. Let's take a look at our standings here. That performance will put the Dragons atop the ISC, tied and Flame to follow with identical records. But this conference is wide open. Things could look completely different by Monday. Again, our 6-team playoff will consist of the top 2 teams from each conference, the #1 team receiving the 2 byes, and then the next 2 at large, regardless of conference. All 6 teams of this conference very much still in it. The FSC, however, starting to shape up a little bit. Sharks stay atop after their loss today, but the Comets pushing for that #1 spot in the FSL. Knights stay at 3 after their loss to the Dragons today, and the Rebels and Phantoms going to have to take some time over this break over the weekend, regroup and figure out their plan, because they are dangerously close to being eliminated from the playoffs already. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you rep your team in the comments below. Let me know who is the biggest surprise today, and who do you think will be taking those coveted spots in the FSL playoffs. I'm Kenny Fisher. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you back here first thing on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This has been an official broadcast of the FSL.